Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Thursday, August 27th. One more day left of the trading week, and just a couple days left of the trading month for August. So I think I talked about in yesterday's video just how nice the performance, how crazy the performance has been in August. What else did? I didn't put a theme of the day in here. Theme of the day, I would say, where did we finish for the day? Up 20 basis points. So kind of mixed, I would say mixed day with volatility higher again. So for the second day in a row, this almost didn't happen, by the way, but I'll talk about as soon as I get the spelling right. Volatility with volatility higher. So yeah, the VIX was higher for the second day, while the S&P was higher again. And what I mean was this thing came all the way in. The VIX hit a 20. VIX hit a 27 today, which is kind of unusual, I thought. But and we closed around like 24, so up about 5% for the day for the VIX. So, I guess the major question is this a true like sell signal for the market? Right, 2 days in a row where the VIX has climbed and the market has climbed too. I don't know the answer to that question, but I do think it's kind of like you're getting a little bit of a warning signal that, and it's probably, for me, how I interpret it is, hey, it's a good place to take a little bit of money off the table, right? There's nothing wrong with doing that at this point. After a huge run, always with the market, it's what does Kramer say? Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. I think that's, if you're starting to see something like this, right? We've talked about how the breadth isn't particularly awesome, but I kind of need, of course, I'm watching price and trend is my number one to kind of tell me things. But I can use something like this to kind of tell me to take a little bit more profits, to take some money off the table, and I think this makes logical sense, right? I think that I don't want to be pushing a whole bunch of new trades here. Again, what I basically do is I don't, I'm not trading the indices so much. I'm using them for proxies. I'm using them for overall support and resistance levels. We're looking at breadth to kind of tell us a little bit what's going on underneath the hood. But ultimately, what I'm trading is single stocks and a little bit of sector ETFs as well, but mainly mainly single stocks. Sorry, it's been a long week already, and I'm looking for like setups as we go along. So as long as I'm still seeing setups, I'm still going to be active with taking some new trades. But I think at this point, and as I've been saying for the last, I've kind of had more of a conservative outlook for the last couple of weeks because it is August. But I think as long as you're taking profits here and making some adjustments and tweaks as the market goes up like this, I think I'm pretty happy with how I'm positioned right now. So, first things first, again, videos for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations, anything like that. Going over today's price action, the Qs again had a little bit of trouble intraday, but they finished just down 30 basis points. So again, like overall price action fine, a little bit of a hiccup there after Powell, right? And I think, by the way, everybody was expecting some volatility with Powell today. We talked about that in yesterday's video, that the Fed minutes didn't really have anything negative per se, but people were just looking for a reason to kind of take some profits and take some money off the table. So I think that's kind of the same thing, why the VIX kind of spiked a little bit here midday, is because we've just basically been going up in a straight line. At some point, people are going to take a little bit of money off the table, some profits, right? So we're going to see that on the highs from time to time. So I think steady as we go, continue to be cognizant of when the market rips like it does, and then we kind of go from there and watch some individual setups. Besides this, gold and silver, we talked a little bit about them in yesterday's video. Very difficult. I mean, I didn't have any gold or silver trades on. Why don't I put gold or silver trades on? Is because there's a lot of whipsaw action when there's a Fed meeting, or like today, there was a big Powell speech. So I don't really touch gold or silver. It's just too difficult. If anything, like I put on like a lotto trade. a small, meaning a small amount of money that could do well if gold or silver really, rips to the upside or sells off pretty hard. But I think these things are just too hard, and you'll see this time to time. Like, so I think as you kind of gain, if you've experienced what happens during Fed meetings, they're really tough to do anything with gold and silver. So that's one of those things that you kind of learn a little bit from experience, not to go near these things. I think I was talking about a couple different silver charts yesterday, but they kind of canceled their what they were showing. So this doesn't look bad, by the way. Pan American silver, it's still going above the 200-day moving average, and the other one that we were talking about is WPM yesterday, which I thought looked better. But again, down 3%. These things are not, um, they're not easy trades. So this did cancel the buy signal, right? It needs to stay above value. That's the buy signal for me. Remember, I feel like sometimes I don't explain these value areas enough, but this basically generally means when something's in a range, right? I'm looking to play a lot of times breakouts. We'll talk about a couple charts that are flashing some new breakouts. One of which I talked a little bit yesterday. So I think this is kind of the big situation for the day is that VIX going higher. If you look at today's performers, what rallied after the open, the banks. They finally had strung together what I think the second day of this week. Obviously not consecutive, but the beginning of the week they were strong, and then they cooled, and now showing a little bit of life there. Travel names, so again, more like reopening stuff. I think this was a lot because of the Abbott news that came out overnight. Medical devices, also Abbott is a decent weight in there, but that rallied from the open, finished up 1.5%. And then the gold miners, which we just talked about, the miners having a tough day. Builders and semiconductors, two of the stronger areas of the market, gave back some gains today, down 1.7%. So I think that was I would say one of the also notable things for today was that was the semiconductors. They've kind of looked a little bit weak, right? We talked about them against the 20-day moving average last week, which I think was in here. And they bounced. They hit a 52-week high, but down 1.4%. So again, there's no sell signal here. This is just in the channel right now, right, in this upward channel. So I think all in all, that's fine. But I always like to kind of give a couple trade ideas or things that I'm looking at. I've been looking at this XLV as in Victor, right? This is healthcare. Now, this did not close on the highs, but it is leaning for a breakout. So we'll kind of check that. Also IHI, which is medical devices. So again, if you look at the, if you want to see the best performers out of this group, what we do is we look at the movers. Again, Abbott is on the top of the list, but Abbott wasn't the only story. Look at all the other names that were up over 2% today. So I think, I think really interesting. Tandem was up 3.7%. Boston Scientific. Also, if you go across XLV, the healthcare ETF, Abbott was also the big gainer there as well. Abbott's in the XLV, but again, like things like EW, Medtronic, right? So again, more medical devices in here. Also, even like UNH. This was a name I was watching about a week ago, and it did this breakout, but you got a nice retest, right? So even if you got long in here, on the breakout in UNH, I don't think you're in a horrible place. But you have, if you want to add to a trade, right, you got a retest, right? And a retest and so far a bounce. So we'll keep an eye on UNH. I don't have a position on in any of these things. I'm just kind of watching. Remember I talked about in yesterday's video Zoetis too? Right? Zoetis is trying to get to the, well, looks like it's sold off here into the close. There was a little bit of an MOC sell imbalance, but well, look at that. That just canceled that sell signal. The buy signal. Excuse me. Well, not really. It's still above value, but again, on the watch list for tomorrow, and it is above value for the week. That's 159. So yeah. So XL. So for example, right when I talk about basically what I'm looking for and how I'm using the value areas to trade, I would be looking for a breakout of value on the 1 hour and also a breakout of value for the daily. Remember, what I'm looking for is the path of least resistance, right? So I want to see these things get out of the range, and you could see, looking ahead to September. Look at how thin this value area is. So it's kind of like the same principle of like coiled in the moving averages when three moving averages basically wrap around one another, right? You kind of have what's known as a very slim or narrow value area. So this healthcare is going to move big one way or another, I believe, next month. So we'll see. It's starting to lean to the upside, and that's kind of where I'm most interested in is this healthcare group. VRTX was a name too, which I added. There's some resistance up here about 281-ish. Also on the 1 hour, right? This is a name that had good earnings, just has not been acting well. Maybe we start to see a little rotation into this group. Just speculating a little bit, but you got to R1 and R2 up here. So this R2 lines up with the daily, right? So that would be a good little short-term swing trade, basically into this bottom of value here, which is about $7-8 away. All right, so that's that. I didn't talk about any of today's trades. For me, you didn't even really see me mention this on Twitter because I don't need to do a victory lap on every single trade. It is nice to do some victory laps, but on Twitter, all these guys, they're victory lap specialists on on Twitter. But Abbott, this was a trade that I was holding on to for about a month. We saw some calls in Abbott. This is just a name that I like a lot. This was also leaning to the upside, so this was one of our watch list names going into. So again, I put this on probably someplace in the beginning of the month. I remember I was on vacation, so I think somewhere in here, and I added to the trade once. So this made my day today. I had January calls, and you could see I took these things off. I originally paid like $650, and then I think I added to them at around $570 or $580. And I was taking these things off for $12.50 today, and fully happy with that. And I just locked that in today, right around the open. And then Microsoft was the other story for me, right? What I've been talking about for a while, basically just about every day this week, is sticking with trades, rolling out and up, or in this case, I was in October calls and I just kept rolling them up to a higher strike. I did that just basically the last 2 days. I think I rolled this trade 3 different days. Why do I do that so much rather than just not hold the original? Strike is because they get to be a lot of money, and I have a hard time holding a contract that is like up to like $15-20. I would rather just go to the next strike. So again, this is Microsoft. Where did I have this yesterday? Out of Microsoft, the 225s for $9, paid $550, and then I rolled it to the 230. I hit a target on the 230s at the end of the day, and then I was selling the 230s for $13 today. And then I decided, keep your money in there a little bit, keep pressing the profits, and I rolled this to the 235 calls at 970, and then I took another target here at $11. So now I'm holding the last piece. I got a couple questions about this. Am I using smaller trades as I roll up? Yeah, I am. I'm taking money off the table, and I'm not putting on the same original size trade. So the trade does get smaller as I roll, but still, I'm still making money all the way through. So I've got basically my last position left in Microsoft, and those 2 names really did it for me. I decided to get out of Fastly today. Again, it's kind of just, what point are you comfortable with, how much you've made this month, right? And when I said in the beginning of the video, bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. I don't want to be a pig at this point. And, I got into this Fastly trade. Of course, I was looking for $100 on here. It got to 99. I just missed it. But, overall, I paid 76 for this trade. So that's that. A couple other trades that I was in that I just said, you know what, I'm happy with, not every single trade is going to work. And, I got out of a few trades. K-Web, Yeti. I think there was one more. I put on a little bit of a square trade today. I took that one off for a little bit of a loss. And Iron Condor for Workday, I don't think is going to work. I think someone asked me about iron condors. When I generally look to do an iron condor, when a name when a name is expensive for options, so they're implying like around a 7 or 8% move at least, and the name is run a little bit too. So I did that for Workday, and I don't think this one's going to work. They had good numbers. I didn't think they had great numbers, but I thought they had good numbers. And you could see they're up to 237 here after hours. A couple other names that reported. Alta was a name that we were looking at too. I did not put on anything in Alta, but really, really nice price action up to 264. Okta reported. I think they're down a little bit. So here's what's funny regarding some of these earnings releases. I didn't think there was anything bad about Okta. The earnings, it's just some of them are a little too expensive. So what's Okta, for example? What's the price to sales? Right, that's one of the metrics that people look at. And if we look at this on Bloomberg, maybe the ratios I think has it. Price to sales is 38. What is it for Workday? I don't think Workday is cheap either, but it's less. So it's 12.6, right? And if you look at CRM, it's still 12.7, still kind of expensive, but not a 36. And I think that's why you have Okta selling off a little bit, because it's so expensive. And what was the other name that reported? Beeve. This one's doing well too. This is up to 279. Again, I looked up playing this one too, but yeah, that's okay. Like I said, I'm kind of happy where I am right now, so we'll just kind of see. And then, I would love to see a little bit of a pullback at this point, but who knows what we get with this crazy market. All right, guys, have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow in the trading room.